Hey everyone, happy Tuesday. Welcome to the Sackhoff Show. I am your host, Katee Sackhoff. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am so excited that you are here. I want to remind you to stick around for the Hindsight after the episode where my producer Jeph and I talk about the episode and everything going on in our lives and things going on. I said that already, but it's a really fun time and I highly suggest you check it out if you haven't done that. You can send your questions and comments to thesackhoffshow@gmail.com. And you should definitely do that because we answer some of them and when we talk about them in the Hindsight. And it's the only way really to make sure that you're contacting me, which is fun. And if you're free March 15th and you want to come see us record a live episode at the Indiana convention, you can get those tickets. I'm going to lean forward to read this to you at indianacomic-convention.com/feature/The Sackhoff Show. That is indianacomic-convention.com/feature/The Sackhoff Show. And we hope to see you there. Our guest this week, I'm so excited. Our guest this week is none other than Harvey Guillen. I love this person. If you don't know who he is, Harvey is in What We Do in the Shadows on FX. He's in the new movie Companion. He was in Wish. He was in The Life of Chuck, Puss in Boots. He's done so much and has such a wonderful career. And I was a huge fan of What We Do in the Shadows. I absolutely adored that show. And I walked up to Harvey at a convention, I don't even know, 6 months ago, a year ago. And I was like, I just have to say, I love you. And I walked away. That was pretty much it. I don't even know if I introduced myself. I just said, I love you. You're amazing. And walked away. He was so lovely. And I can't wait for you to get to know him a little bit better. I had so much fun talking to him and getting to know a little bit more about him and where he came from, how he got his start, what he wants to do with his career. He is in the new movie Companion, which is out in theaters right now. So I suggest you check that out. And if you haven't seen What We Do in the Shadows, it's on FX. You need to just stop watching me and go watch that because it is really funny. We have so much fun in this conversation, and I really enjoyed speaking with him, so I can't wait for you to check it out. Enjoy the episode with my new friend, Harvey Guillen.
Hi.
It was nice to meet you. I know we met very briefly. You probably don't even remember, at a convention where I stopped you very quickly as you walked by and I just went, I love you.
I think I remember that because I was like, I think we've met before when they brought me this. I was like, I think there's in my memory I have a moment of your face and meeting, and I was like, I think we met before.
I think we did. It was very, very quick, but I saw you at the convention and was like, I have to say that. And it's not, I normally don't stop weird, people that I don't know at conventions when they're working and, fawn all over them. But I just had to. I'm such a huge, huge fan of you.
Oh, thank you. That's so nice.
Yeah. I want to talk about Companion, of course, but I also, I would love to talk about What We Do in the Shadows. I would love to.
Yeah, let's do it.
It was such a wonderful, wonderful show. And Guillermo was so much of the heart to me of that show. How did that come to you, and sort of what drew you to the character and the show?
For me, I actually came to it by accident. I went to a wine and cheese night that my friend Mimi Michaels was having because she just had a newborn, and they were in LA from New York because there was a huge storm coming. So they left New York to be in warmer weather with the baby. And she said, come to the wine and cheese night they're having at my brother's house. And I was already in my pajamas and not going anywhere. And it was raining. When it rains in LA, you don't want to drive anywhere. no one can drive in LA when it rains. It's just like, I don't know what it is. It's just not
Somebody
enough.
just told me that they're actually, I think it was my producer just told me they're trying to teach people how to drive in the rain in Los Angeles right now.
I would take a course. Yeah, I don't think it's just in us. We're not used to water and that like hydro glide, all that,
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's like, and people won't forget about people who drive in the snow. Like, I don't know how people do that. Like, it's like, wait, so when it snows, you still go to work? And it's like, yeah, we have to go to work. And it's like, and
It
school.
it is snowed 6 inches here this morning where I'm at.
Okay, where are you
Um,
at?
I'm just in Portland.
Okay.
Like, so Portland is not, I mean, we know how to drive in the snow. I grew up here and my parents had us take skid courses because it lowered our insurance when we were in high school. So we know how to drive in the snow, but Portland doesn't get snow because you know, we're like at sea level. So we don't really get a lot of snow. So
Yeah.
when it does snow and we get these huge ice storms, the entire city shuts down. The whole city. So for like 5 inches of snow, there's no school. Like everyone's done.
Yeah.
It's pretty. Yeah, it's crazy here right now.
That makes sense. I mean, yeah, so LA, so it was raining that day when she called me or texted me, and I said, I don't know, and I almost didn't go. And, I realized if I didn't see her now, I was probably not going to see her for a couple months, if not, within the next year or so. So I, put on some clothes and I went over, and like it was her husband, her baby, her brother, and this girl that I never known or met before. Her name was Yvonne. And we were just laughing, having a good time, and not talking about anything specific, but just having a good time. And the next day, I get a text from an unknown number, and she's like, "Hey, this is Yvonne from last night. I got your number from Mimi. I hope you don't think it's weird, but I think you're really, effing funny, and you should definitely audition for my fiance's new show." And I was like, "I don't do those kind of films, so
I
I
love
don't."
the fact that it was just like super random. Like you're like,
Yeah,
sure, your fiance's new show.
yeah,
Copy
right,
that.
right, right. Hey, will you meet us in the back of this alley? Tell no one. And I was like, why not? And I was also like, it was actually 7 years ago last month, January. It was the first week of January. I was like, New Year's had just passed. And I was in this new, like, this year I'm going to do the yes and Oprah, like, yes and yes to things, say yes to things. And so, sure enough, when I was asked to meet someone, in a dark alley, I said, sure, why not? Um, I just said, okay, so what's this project? And she said, it's for What We Do in the Shadows. And I was like, the movie? Because I had heard about the movie, but I didn't
Yeah.
see the movie. I hadn't seen the
Okay.
movie yet. Everyone had talking about it. It was actually on my queue that night when I was watching TV and she texted me. It was on my queue, one of the things to
Yeah.
watch, like in line. And I was like, no. And so I said, okay, what's the information for this audition? She's like, it's for this and blah, blah. And Allison Jones is casting. I was like, if you know anything about Allison Jones, who's cast everything under the sun that you love, like, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Golden Girl,
Yeah.
like everything, Bridesmaids, everything that's hilarious and good, she has touch.
Yeah.
And I was like, you only get invited to her casting office. Like, it's like a
Yeah.
really big deal. So I was like, I'll definitely use this moment to like get my foot in the door.
Yeah.
And I got the script, and the character was 20 or 25 years older than I am. And so I was like, oh, I was like, okay, well, how about this? How about if I go in and I'm just doing it the way that I think the character would be at my age? And I just wanted to meet Allison Jones. So I got the part, I got the paper and the script and whatnot. And I went to the office and I was so excited to meet Allison. I was like, oh my God, I'm here to see Allison Jones. And it was like literally a complimentary audition. It was like someone made a call because there was no
Yeah.
one in the office. And I was like, I'm here to see Allison. And Ben, who is an amazing casting director too, was like, oh, she's not here. And I
Yeah,
was like,
exactly. I'm sorry, you're going to be reading with
you're going to read with
me.
me.
And
And I was
yeah.
like, no, I'm supposed to meet Allison. And it's like, she's in London auditioning for Guillermo's right now for this
Oh,
character.
no.
And I was like, I was like, okay. And then so he put on like a microphone and the, little collar. And
Yeah.
then we did the audition. I remember just doing it and then remembering that after I was done, as an actor, like sometimes you find this really happy place where you fall into the character that you like completely mesh into one. And you're
Yeah.
like, I remember doing it and just like him going, Harvey. And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, we're done. And I was like, oh, okay. Thank you. And then I was
Cool.
walking away. And then he goes, Harvey, wait. And then I thought he was going to go, you're going to Hollywood, or something. And I was like, yay, I'm going to Hollywood. He goes, the microphone. And he like grabs the microphone off of my collar.
Oh,
And I
bless
was
your
going to
heart.
walk out with the microphone. And I was like, oh, this is crazy. But I didn't remember what I did. I walked out. I was like, I hope I did okay. But if anything, Allison will see it. And my agent calls out, how do you think you did? And I was like, I don't know. I really don't.
Yeah.
I don't remember what I did. But 2 hours later, they had shown it to Taika, Jermaine, FX. Paul Sims, everyone had seen it, including Allison, and they had voted unanimously to test me with Kayvon to do a chemistry
Within
test
2 hours.
within 2 hours, and I didn't hear back from them for like 2 weeks.
Hmm.
And I was Martin Luther King weekend. It was a Sunday, and I knew they started production that Tuesday because Monday they're off, and Tuesday they started. And I had not heard anything about the chemistry. And also, my agents had told me they're also that you're the wild card. And I
Hmm.
was like, okay. So I made a career of being the wild card. Like the wild
Yeah.
card is like it wasn't written for you. It wasn't like you're not the height, you're not the hair, you're not the eye color, you're not the body. Like everything is not written for you, but if they were just to go a different direction, you'd be the
Yeah.
wild card. You'd be the one to go
Yeah.
with that they would see. And I was
Huh.
like, okay, fair enough. I'll be the wild card and go chemistry. Didn't hear from them, so I was kind of bummed. I was like, I didn't get it because it's Sunday before the actual, production starts. And a number kept calling me like from a 16-digit number, and I was like, "Ugh, I'm not answering that. It's a telemarketer or something." And eventually, I was with my sister. We were shopping at the mall and like trying to distract myself. She was trying to cheer me up, and then we were driving back home. And the phone kept ringing. She's like, "Will you pick up the fucking phone?" And I was like, "Sure, sure, sure." And then I picked up the phone and it was, "Hey, is this Javi?" And I was like, "Yeah, hey, it's Jermaine and Taika." And I was like, yes, I'm supposed to test for you." And like, "No, you're not testing." And I was like, "Oh, thank you so much for the opportunity. I wish you
Aw.
the best." And I thought they were giving me like a complimentary,
Hmm.
thank you for your time. And they're like, "We'll see you on set." And I was like, I what? And then my sister was like, "Oh my God." And she pulled over and then she stopped the car. And I was like shaking. I was like, "What? Thank you, thank you. I'll see you on set." And it was just like I had to call my agents and tell them that I booked it, and they didn't believe me. They're like, "Harvey, they call us," and I was like, "I booked it. I booked it." I must have looked insane. Like I must have looked
You're like, some
completely.
crazy number called me and
Yeah,
told me
some
I got
crazy
the
number called
job.
me and said I booked it. I was must have been insane.
I gave them my bank number.
Yeah, they said they're a prince, and they could. And I was just it was life changing. Like I was at it was Sunday afternoon when I got the call. I had to tell them the Monday
Mhm.
was closed. Everyone was on vacation. And finally on Monday night they're like, "You got it," and I was like, "I got it." They're like, "You have a fitting tomorrow morning. Go straight to like." So it was a quick fitting, and then what I wore to the audition that day, I wanted to age myself up, so I wore this like sweater vest with an orange long sleeve shirt, and I popped out these Harry Potter glasses, and I parted my hair in the middle, and I curled it in, like, because I didn't. I saw a picture of Guillermo del Toro, and he had this the glasses and hair curled in. I didn't know Guillermo, so I was like, that looks like Guillermo. Like, so
Mhm.
I mimic my look for Guillermo after Guillermo del Toro,
Okay.
and I auditioned with that look, and. When I booked it, I went to this fitting. Taika was there, and they're like, "What are you thinking for him?" So, "What you wear for the audition?" I was like, "Oh, I wore this, blah 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 blah." Like, yeah, that. So they just mimicked the audition outfit, and that actually mirrored what Guillermo's look became, including down to the hair, down for the
Interesting.
series. And so, just one phone call, life changing. So one wine and cheese.
Huh. How do you how do you perform in a situation like that where you go into Allison's office, Allison's not there? That disappointment as an actor, because I have felt those moments when you think you're going to get the casting director and you get the assistant, and you have to then get yourself back up ready again. Like, what went through your mind in that situation? Because you said like you obviously hit it out of the park and you became Guillermo. Like, what went through your mind and how did you deliver that performance in that moment?
I think, as an actor, you get those like moments where you can be prepared all you want, but things could get
Mm,
thrown your way. And I think it's always good to be ready on your feet and on your toes, where I think improv is so important for even if you're not, an improv actor, just to have in your back pocket to go with
mm,
the punches, just because in this business, things change, really rapidly and like quickly. And you get to a casting office and even rehearsing these 8 pages, and they're like, "You got the new pages, right?" And it's like, these ones are like, "No, those are the old ones," and here are the new ones. And there's moments of that where you're like, do you need a minute? Do you need a minute?" And you're like, "Yeah, yeah. If I could just get
yeah, I
maybe
mean,
like a
like 30
minute."
seconds would be, yeah, would be
30 seconds would be
awesome. I
great
don't need
to
much.
memorize these 8 pages of new dialogue. So there's always moments like that. And like I always, when when casting directors give you the opportunity, like, do you need a minute? It's like, I take it. Like, I always feel like at first, when I first started my career, I would always, no, I'm good, I'm good. And it's a disservice to yourself,
Yeah.
because you don't want to waste their time. You don't want to be like, well, this guy showed up and didn't get the new sides that we didn't send until this morning to their agent, and their
Yeah.
agent didn't send to them until never. And so you don't want it to be a disappointing actor, but it's not about disappointing them. It's that I want to give the best version of myself in this scenario, and that might need time, and that's okay because they're understanding. I think people forget that casting directors want you to succeed. They want to make their job easier too. They want to find the person. The quicker they find this character, the quicker they move on to the other character.
Yeah.
And so they're not trying to like throw curveballs, like, let's see what we can do with these
Yeah.
actors. And I think sometimes that's in our heads that, oh no, the casting director's gonna be upset and they're not gonna like me if I don't, learn this new scene quickly or whatnot. But just if they offer the time, take the time. In that moment where things shifted, where I really had my heart set on Allison, I made a quick choice and I said, well, she's gonna see the tape. She's gonna see the tape, and I wanted to meet her in person.
Yeah.
But my goal is always that I made a career out of booking things that weren't meant for me. I was always a wild card. If you look at my resume, even down to the names, they're like, you played this character. Like, it's like, how did you? The characters were never written for me specifically. I was always the wild card. But my goal is always to, obviously, I want to book the job because as an actor, you want to be a working actor, especially when you're starting off. You're like, the more credits, the better you get. But my job is that I want to book the job, but my real job is to book the room.
Yeah.
If I book the room, the casting director, the director in that room, even if the part's not right for me, and I walk away and everyone in there's like, gosh, I wish this is just not right for him, but I want to put him in something. Oh, this character's not right for him, but I want to use him in something. And they pin your picture on the wall and they just make it a focus and you become part of a vision board where they want to work with you. They want to work with you. So my goal has always been book the room. So I go in and I'm like, this is what I think this character is in this body, in this hair color, in this eye color, in this height, in this personality, in this vessel, and that's it. And then you just leave it. And they can go, I never thought of it like that, actually. You know what? Yeah, why don't we do it? And for me specifically, that happens to work in my favor because I do it in a way that I'm like, this is how I do it as Harvey. And that's what they want to see. They want to see what individuality you bring to the character. That if it fits well with the rest of the cast, it's a perfect fit. And if it doesn't, then that's it. You move on to the next. I always think about it as like going around with like a tray of desserts. We spend so much time trying to convince someone to eat a chocolate cake, and they're like, "Come on, it's so good, just eat it. Come on, give me the job. Come on, give me." They're like, "I don't know, I don't really, I don't like chocolate. Like, oh, I don't like cake, or I don't eat flour. And I just come on, eat it." And you're trying to force someone to eat dessert from your dessert tray when there's a row of people waiting for you to walk by with a dessert tray, and they're looking over like, when is he gonna get here? And when the more time you waste on this person trying to convince them to eat your dessert, it's like, come on, just eat the chocolate cake. The people just got out of their chairs and left, or they went to get something else. They went to get a smoothie because you were so busy trying to convince one person. Don't waste your time convincing one person. Go do your best, present what you have. You want some chocolate cake? No. Okay, thank you so much. Have a good day. You go to the next row and be like, chocolate cake today? Oh yeah, I love chocolate. Great. Actually, I'll only have a bite though. Only a bite. I'm not sure yet. Okay, sure. Move on to the next table. That's the way I see it as the best analogy I could think of because, chocolate cake's not for everyone, but you're going to find people who love chocolate cake.
This episode is brought to you by OneSkin. You all know that I've been using OneSkin now for a few months. And I have to say, you guys, I'm still on the train. I absolutely love it. Not only do I notice a firmness in my face that wasn't there before, but it actually changed the smoothness of my face as well. During the winter, my skin was getting incredibly dry. And within a week of using OneSkin, around the eye and my face and my body, my entire skin changed. Founded and led by an all-women team of skin longevity scientists, OneSkin is redefining the aging process with their proprietary OS1 peptide, the first ingredient proven to help skin look, feel, and behave like its younger self. Get 15% off with code Sackhoff at oneskin.co. That's 15% off oneskin.co with code Sackhoff, SACKHOFF. After your purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show. Tell them we sent you. Invest in the health and longevity of your skin with OneSkin. Your future self will thank you. how did you, because you always seem so positive and so upbeat. How did you, and because that's a phenomenal way of looking at the industry, like I've been doing this now for like 25 years. And I still have that thing in the back of my mind that's like, trying to morph myself into what they're looking for instead of just be myself. Because I think that sometimes we get told so many times in this industry what's wrong about us or why we're not right. It's sometimes really hard not to internalize that. Is that, for me anyway, is that something that you always had? Were you always so positive growing up, or is this something that you've sort of gotten really good at as you've gotten older?
I mean, I think I've always been positive, but there's always been moments in anyone's life, I think, moments of doubt and moments of fear, and I have those moments as well. But I try to be optimistic ever since a young age. Just because as a young kid, I knew that my surroundings and upbringing was not what my neighbors had. Like I grew up very poor. I knew that like my parents couldn't pay for the acting classes that I wanted to take. So I paid for my first improv class by collecting cans, aluminum cans and bottles and stuff like that. A lot of people could be like, "Oh my God, that's so tough for your childhood." You didn't. I was like, I had a beautiful childhood. My childhood
Mm,
was filled with great times, laughter, love. We might have been the richest family, but I wouldn't have known it because I was happy. So for me, it was not the idea that money makes you happy. Money gives you, a vehicle to maybe get somewhere faster. Money gets you a door open faster because you can have the tools to open that door. But it doesn't necessarily make you happy.
mm,
Money doesn't
mm,
make you necessarily happy. And so for me, I think I learned early on that happiness is going to come within you. You can't rely on someone else to make you happy. You can't rely on someone else to, if you're not happy with your job, then change it. If you're not happy with your hair, then cut it. If you're not happy with whatever that you think you want to change about you, not because someone else told you, not because
mm,
someone else in the industry is telling you, because for so long I was told I was trying to be put into a mold. I had
right.
teachers who I love and trusted, and I think they're also a product of their time, would mention stuff to me like, what are you going to do about the weight?
Mm,
And this is me in a freshman in college. And I was like, what do you mean? You could be a leading man. I am going to be a leading man. And it's
mm,
like, but you could be a leading man if you, I was like, I don't like that narrative. If I don't, if I don't think it's a problem, as long as I feel healthy in my body and my choices, I don't think it's anyone else's business. I don't think it's anyone else to make you feel that you need to be put into a mold. If you feel that that's what you need to do to become the artist that you need to become, then that's a choice that you make. And that's a
mm,
choice that you need to live with and say, yeah, you know what? It wouldn't hurt if I worked on my muscles. Okay, great. It wouldn't hurt that if I cut my hair or get extensions because I want to have this look. This is the look I'm going for. Great. That's your choice. I think it's terrible when we're put into boxes and definitely put into like a mold that it wasn't meant for us. The sooner I realized that the mold that they were trying to put me in early on in my career, it was like, why am I trying to fit to a mold? I'm already a mold.
mm,
This is my mold. I'm already filled in the perfect places that I want to be filled. This is where my energy oozes from. This is who I am. This is the essence of me. So why am I trying to shove myself into someone else's, already made cocoon? I have my own, and I have my own metamorphosis that I'm doing,
mm,
and every butterfly is different. And so it's just, we're just, getting into our cocoon and our metamorphosis at different stages of our lives. And I think I became put into that stage pretty early on. So then when I completely came out of it, being my authentic self, you are who you are, you realize who you are, that I've never so quickly booked more. Never in my life have I been more outgoing. The sooner you realize that this was the cocoon you were meant to be, and then you completely come out of it, and this is me, and this is what I'm presenting to the world. And they're either going to like it or they're not, but it's not your job to try to convince them to like it. And it's definitely not
mm.
healthy to let them try to think that you need to go back into the metamorphosis and
Yeah.
ferment for a little bit longer. Like it's
Yeah.
like this is it. This is who I am, and I'm ready to work, and I'm ready to do what I love. And it's hard though. I get it. And especially in this business, especially for women, women like are being told to look a certain way. So are men and men, but like I feel like it's tougher on women in this business because if you don't make it by a certain age, what's your value after certain, like it's kind of ridiculous when you think about it.
Yeah.
But the sooner you walk into a room with that, like, I don't give a fuck, like what you think of me at what age. This
Yeah.
is who I am now and today. And people always come and say that. They go, well, where do you get your confidence? Or "Well, how long was you always like this?" And I was like, you have to be. You have to walk in with that confidence and you have to believe it because people are drawn to that. People are like, I like that. I like that you don't give a shit, but you're still
Yeah.
respectful and you're still
Of course.
polite, but you don't give a shit. And it's like, it's because I know my value and I know my worth. And sure, there's moments also of doubt you might have, like, damn it, I really want to go out for that part. Why didn't I go out for this, or why didn't I get this part? Things happen in mysterious ways. And
Mm.
more than less of the time that I look back at the things that I was like, I really want to get that, and I don't get it, and then I see the final product, I'm like, oh, you know what? It's never mind. It's probably for the
Yeah.
best. It's probably not the project that I imagined, or it's probably the person who booked it was perfect for it. It was like
I
absolutely,
know.
it's always like I think it's never, we're humans, so there's like why wasn't it me? Why didn't I get it? But it's also because we want to work and we want to be, and
Yeah.
as an actor and a performer, you want to be like your value is placed on how many times you book or how much work you
Yeah.
book. But I don't think that's fair. 'Cause some of the most talented people I know sometimes go months and months or years without a
Without
booking, and
working.
their talent doesn't mean that it's left. It just means that this is business is not about, it's about one T.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks it's about talent. Talent's a part
Mm.
of it, but it's not about that T. It's about
Mm.
tenacity. This
Oh my
is
God, I say that
business.
all the time. I was like, give me a team that has tenacity and like they will not leave a rock unturned.
Hmm.
Like that is absolutely like trying to figure out how to instill that in my children is because tenacity to me is resiliency.
Hmm.
That is that thing. That's that thing that
In any
teaches you to get
situation,
back up.
whether anything you do.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely. Did you did your parents being immigrants did your parents being immigrants change your view of the American dream? Because being an actor, were they reluctant to support you in that, or was that a valuable American dream to them for their son?
Well, you have to remember for a child of immigrant parents who came and they want to make their lives better for themselves and their kids, you have to remember that some people come into this country, were like doctors and lawyers in their country, and they come here and they
Yeah,
have to start from scratch. Their degree does not transfer over, and so you're starting from scratch because you don't have the luxury of giving your kids generational wealth that
right.
wasn't earned in America, because for so long people of color were not allowed to get generational wealth. It's only been in the last, uh, decades that like has that been allowed, and we've been able to provide that. Um, for my parents, when I told them to be an actor, they weren't thrilled because it sounded like a fairy tale dream because the odds are against you, right?
Yeah.
Just in acting in general, the odds are, there's so many people out there want to be actors, but it's
Mm,
also like it's a tough road. I always say when people ask me, what are your words of wisdom for an up and coming actor or an actor who wants to go into the business or someone who's thinking about going into the business?
mm,
And I'm like, if you love it and you can't see yourself doing anything else, like you can't imagine seeing yourself, like if you can see yourself doing anything else besides acting, do that. If you can't see anything beyond you just acting, that's all you can
yeah.
see in your peripheral, and that's all you can see in front of you, and I don't know how I could imagine being happy doing anything else, then that's what you're meant to do. But
Hmm.
when someone has one foot in, one foot out, I always go do that. And he's like, no, well, I'm good at this, but I was thinking maybe I'd try my hand at, it's like, what do you feel more passionate about? Because this business is going to devote everything to it. Your passion is going to be that. You're going to live and breathe that. And the second you start splitting your time between, well, I was thinking like I'll do interior design, and it's a job
Mm,
that you're doing because it's a temp while you get your next break, then that's great too. But if your goal has always been acting, if your goal is always acting, performing, and that's always where the road has gone, then you can do
yeah.
other stuff to fill in, those moments. I mean, I worked through high school and college, like at Payless and Burger King, and like stuff that I knew that it wasn't my end game, but I needed to make money to pay for these classes.
Right.
But I always had that in my head. I was like, I had a counselor in school and in high school. who took me aside. He's like, "So what are your plans then?" I was like, "Well, I told you I want to be an actor." It's like, "What is your plan B?"
Oh my God. I was just going to say, talk about plan B with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't have one. And they're like, you
Yeah.
need to have a plan B. And I was like, no, I don't, because
Hmm.
success is my only like option. Failure is not.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
success is my only option and failure is not. And so when you have that mind, like I don't know why, but ever since I was a kid, like it's just that was my vision, and if I stick to something, I have to finish it. Some people can be like, well, that sounds very stubborn or very
Mm.
uh, self-absorbed, self-serving. It's like, I don't think so because I think that you're your biggest champion, your biggest cheerleader, and other people are going to cheer for you along the ways, but you're running this marathon, and
Yeah.
other people are going to be on the sidelines going, you got it, you got it. And then they're giving you cups of water as you're going by, and they're cheering
Yeah.
you on as you're going by. Or there's going to be people who want to stop you and be like, stop, stop, stop. No, get out of the way. Get out of
Hmm.
the way. This is already in motion, and you don't need distractions because I need to
Yeah.
get to the finish line. And I never understand when people think that it's okay to jog next to you and whisper negative, like, stop, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. And it's like, why? Go jog on
Because
that.
they
Like,
couldn't make it. Makes
yeah.
people feel better about the choices that they make in life, I think, a lot of times. And, you know, I think that I've said so many times that I think I'm so blessed that I started acting when I was like 15, because I had that like blissful ignorance of youth to not ever have a plan B, because you can't have a plan B. If you have a backup, you're going to devote more time to the backup because it's consistent. It's the thing that's providing the money. It's the security. It's all
And
of
the
those things.
fear
Like,
that you're gonna feed that fear in your psyche, because the
yeah.
more you're like, those voices will get bigger. Because that if you have that doubt in your head and you're like, well, good thing I have a plan B. Good thing, because that's
Hmm.
what you're gonna end up doing. And it's like, wait, what? It's like good thing, because that's what It's like you start doubting yourself with your own plan, and like the plan that you had is like becoming your own. Like it festers, and you're like the plan B is like, well, I guess I should. Just be safe, because people get fearful of like. And we start bringing in a family into it as well. Like,
Yeah.
I have actor friends who start, raising kids and they got married. And once you start adding, like, now it's no longer me, but I got to think about my family, that's when it gets a little harder too, because as a performer, you're like, ugh, now it's no longer about me. Now it's about taking care of my daughter, taking care of my son, taking care of my spouse, whatever that is. And so it gets a little more stress related, just like now the weight's on it, like, ooh, not
Yeah.
just you, but more bodies and more mouths to feed. It's
Mm.
like you're the sole provider. What's going to happen? For me, I've always said that, like, people are always like, well, you haven't settled down, or you haven't really. I'm like, I've had like partners and whatnot, but I haven't had children because I co-parented my siblings when I was little, in my household. But I'm a godfather to my niece. I have two beautiful nieces. And like I'm the best godfather and uncle, but I don't know if in my timeline right now, I would be a parent, because I know that I'm still in that phase of like, I'd be too selfish to
Mm.
devote to another life. And I'm the best uncle who visits and and like it takes you to Disneyland and has the best time. But I couldn't live with myself knowing that I couldn't devote myself to my children in a way that I know I would want to be a parent to them.
Well,
And
you're
that
young too.
Right. So
You
I
know what
have
I
time.
mean?
I have
You have
time to do
time.
it, but I know myself, and I know that right now would be so selfish to be like, you know what? I want a baby. And it's like, no, you start off with an animal or something first, or with a dog,
Yeah,
or,
a
you know,
plan. When What We Do in the Shadows came to an end, what was that filming that last episode like? Guillermo's
uh,
story through that felt so beautiful to me as an audience member, sort of watching it come to an end, because he was feeling all of the things that fans of the show were feeling.
yeah, it was really, therapeutic in a way, cathartic, I guess. Just because, I talked to Paul Sims, our showrunner, and he wrote the episode, and I said, did you on purposely shoot, because we shot that scene of the last part of the episode, on the last day of filming.
Oh,
And he
yeah.
on purposely blocked it that way, because we did the first take, and it wasn't written that Guillermo gets emotional. It was just like he exits the room and says, I'll be right back, whatever. Um, and then Matt Berry's playing on the piano, "We'll meet again, don't know that song," and everyone's singing around the piano, and everyone's going, "These are vampires. They're immortal and they live forever. I'm a human, and I have just wasted over almost 2 decades, living with them, and the fear of what humans fear is losing time, and the
Mm.
clock ticking, and us running out of time. And so the way I got into Guillermo's mindset that in that moment was like." so much time has been given to this household and the return that I was hoped to be a vampire and I was made into a vampire and it didn't work out. And at that in that moment, all these like memories of like anyone who's ever shared a story of like, I wasted 20 years of my life with this person. I wasted 18 years I gave that job. It's like time is the most valuable thing we have.
Mm,
And we have so little of it. And so for me, when I exited that room with Guillermo, it all sank in that I was just like, what do I do now? How do we start over? How do humans start over after a long relationship, a long job that lets us go in the blink of an eye? And that's where I started thinking about the job that I had in that moment with Guillermo, with Shadows, and it became so emotional for me because it was like, I'm not going to see these people again for a while. Like, I'm not going to see them, when I wake up and come to set every year. I've been doing this for 7 years. And it just hit me. Oh my God, I'm not going to see Kayvon. I'm not going to see, our directors, Yana, our costume designer, Laura Montgomery. Like, I'm not going to see these people who we build a family with. Like, how do you say one day, well, thank you for being family, see you around, and it just
mm.
hit me that it was the last, and to top it off, it was May 2nd at like 11:45. We're wrapping the show, and it was Matt Berry's birthday. We had celebrated his birthday during lunch break, and we thought we were going to finish earlier that day for some reason. I don't know why, but we were just all hanging out, and then at midnight, it was my birthday. May 3rd.
Yeah.
And I, for a brief second, had forgotten about it because I was so like, this is the last day of work, this is the last scene. And then someone goes, it's your birthday. And I was like, and I just started bawling because I was like,
Oh,
oh my God. And I was like, another trip around the sun has
yeah.
come to an end. It was just so perfectly aligned. The show was ending, another year around the sun in my life as a person, on Earth, and it was just so perfectly aligned that I was like, "What is going on?" Like, and it was just like a closing of a chapter, but also an opening of this new year and a new possibility, and the beautiful things that have come since we wrapped the show. So it's sad, but it's also exciting. Um, I'll always hold a special place in my heart with, the show and Guillermo. I'm the first person to say, Guillermo and Andor go off together and we don't know what that looks like. So who knows if a spin-off is something that, could happen. I would be the first one to be like, yeah, sign me up. But it was a
Mm,
beautiful way to end the show, the chapter of that for now, for that
yeah.
character for now. And excited for the future, for
Mm,
turning the page.
yeah. Awesome. Um, how did the role of Eli come to you in Companion?
I mean, Eli was, that was the director and writer Dex who messaged my agent and wanted a meeting. I think they wanted to see like, if I got the character and what I thought about him. And we met through Zoom. Um, he's really, really smart, really talented. He's very quiet. I love our director because it was his first debut was directing,
Okay.
which he hit it out of the ballpark, and it was great. So I'm excited to see what he does in the future and to work with him again. It was just funny because Eli relies so much, or we rely on Eli so much for the movie as a comic relief. But what I loved about the way that he wrote him was that there was this layer to him that we didn't see coming. And without giving too much away in the movie, Eli is fun. He's successful, wealthy, has a gorgeous partner. And at the end of the day, there's the moments where we see humans, and what they accept as love is the love they think they deserve. And sometimes we see that with our friends and like our peers, and we just see them
Mm,
in a relationship where we're like, I don't know if that's real or not. But like with Eli and his partner, the beautiful thing is that their relationship was the most authentic out of everyone in this story because they actually really truly genuinely loved each other, even when the truth surfaces
mm.
about who each one of the partners is, without giving too much away.
Yeah, I don't
They
give too much away because I haven't seen the movie yet and I really want to see the movie. And I tried to get them to send me a copy and they didn't. And so now I'm like, okay, so I know nothing
oh, you have to see it.
other than what's written.
Yeah, and it's very lovely. I think someone in Scotland saw the movie and did a video, and they said, okay, I'm not even gonna try to do a beautiful Scottish accent, but they're like, just a companion. It's there was the scene with Mr. Guillen, and it was just beautiful the way they like were saying how it touched them, and you didn't go in thinking in this movie that you saw it, promoted a certain way. They're like, ooh, thriller, and there's blood and there's
Hmm.
excitement, and then people walk in the theater and be like, that made me cry, They're
I
like,
love that that was very convincing because I would have sounded like the leprechaun from Lucky Charms.
oh,
Like,
yeah.
that's like,
I didn't want to try to even do it,
that's
but it
it.
was such a beautiful accent. And it was so lovely to see that people were being touched by a character that they walked in like, that's the funny guy, and I'm gonna laugh and I'm gonna have a good time. And then at the end, like, oh my God. And to have that moment was really smart, clever writing.
Mm.
So, that's credit to our director and writer. But yeah, that's how that came to be in the cast. I mean, we still have a group chat going after, this movie has been in the making for a couple of years because in the middle of the strike, we stopped production.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so we were. I had luckily shot all my scenes that day. Like up to that day was my last day, and I shot all my scenes. Like that's a wrap on Harvey, and it was the last day I shot was the dinosaur dancing scene,
Okay.
which you see in the commercial. And then I was like, okay, you guys still have like another. They still have like another 3 weeks, I think, of filming. But I had finished my because I was starting a new project, so I did all my stuff. And I was like, okay, well, I'll see you guys like in a couple months for the movie premiere or whatever. No, the strike happened that night at midnight, and then it stopped production for 6 months.
So the
And
actor strike or the writer strike?
the
Because it was
writer's
already
strike.
written, right?
It was already
But
written, yeah.
but so it was already written. So technically, you guys could have kept
Yes,
going through the
but
writer strike, but then the
right,
actor
right.
strike.
And then the
Okay.
actor strike happened. And so
Okay.
it elongated everything longer than it had to. So it was like pause, back, pause, and then a longer pause, and then eventually it was like, and we're back. But then people have moved on to their day jobs and like going to their
Right.
shows and whatnot. So the schedule was not aligned, and so they had to
Mm.
come back and shoot the rest of it. Since we took place and we shot in the summer, I shot all my scenes in the summer. It was like in the middle of the woods. It was hot, and it was summertime in upstate New York. And they had to come back to upstate New York in the winter and wear those summer outfits.
Oh my God,
And
it's the worst
at
thing
one
ever.
point, I think they were telling like, Sophie because she was talking and you could see her breath, even though she's wearing nothing, she's barefoot and she's covered in blood. They were like, "Can you put some ice in your
Yeah.
mouth so
Ice
you
cubes.
can ice cubes so you don't see the
Yep.
hotness of your breath?" And I was like, "Wow!" It's like how no one knows like Hollywood looks so glamorous,
I
and all
know.
the stuff that happens. And
Yeah.
but yeah, that's how that project came to be. And the critics seem to love it, and everyone seems to have a great time with the movie. And Warner Brothers is really happy, and we're happy with it. The cast is lovely, and we're all still in touch. And we do love a good karaoke night, so that might happen soon.
I did a movie once in New Orleans, well, in Louisiana, outside of New Orleans, and at 2 o'clock in the morning, it started snowing, and we were shooting for summer. And I had on like a tiny little pair of shorts and like a tank top, and was like, "Why is it snowing in Louisiana? Like,
And
what
your
is?"
line was like, "Sure is hot out here."
I know, and that's how I learned the ice cube thing. I was like, "Oh my God!" As you're like sucking down ice cubes, it was awful. It was absolutely horrendous. So hats off to Sophie. Um, I'm excited to see the film. And I wanted to know, do you feel a responsibility to the queer community? Have you felt that? Do you feel that? Do you feel that even more in the current climate? Like, um, uh, for representation?
I mean, when I signed up to be an actor, I didn't really think that it would come with like these, titles, and which is great. I would gladly, represent my communities. It was just kind of like the more you got like more of a platform, the more people were like, well, great, now you can speak on this. And it's like, great.
Mm,
But, I gladly speak for, the queer community and represent them. I don't speak for them, but represent them in a positive way as much as I can. Um, but it's so funny because for a while, you know, everything has kind of its moments too. Like, queer media was kind of like I wasn't really, I was sought out for a quote, but I wasn't being sought out to be on the cover of like, a magazine. And which I think is very problematic because I mean, just in recent years, I did a cover for The Advocate, which is great. But we don't see that queer love and queer life looks in every body and every shape and every color. And for a long time, it was very monochromatic and it
mm,
was very Adonis and very six pack. And it's like, there's queer people out there who don't necessarily look like that, and don't necessarily are drawn to that. Not that anything's bad to that, but they're not drawn necessarily to that. That's not their type, and that's fine.
Just like everyone's attracted to different people. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Exactly. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think in the queer community, we're at fault of that as well, Um, just to think about, how it took so long to put someone, who's trans on the cover, put someone who is not, 6'2", blonde, blue-eyed on the cover. It's just like it's a work in progress, and we worked on it and come a long way, but there's also work to be done all around. And I love to use my platform, my voice to advocate for, kids who are coming out of, middle America who don't see themselves on screen. And
Mm.
my favorite thing is when people come to me at Comic Cons or something, and they're like, it's like I've been having a hard time. I'm queer. I'm the only person of color in my community, and I'm queer. It's like so already people are like that's a double whammy for
Yeah.
So that's difficult to hear when there's kids out there who are having a hard time and they want to see themselves represented on screen and film and print, and they don't. And that's why because if I would have had someone who looked like me growing up, it probably would have made it a little bit even more easier for me to be like, you know what? Yes, I can. Look, Harvey did it. And if I can do that for someone, which I know I have because people have come up to me and said, seeing you with your, confidence on the cover of this or do this in this show has made me realize it's gonna be okay and I'm gonna be
Mm.
okay. And that for
Mm.
me is like the biggest like I wear that badge with honor, and it makes me want to do even more, to showcase that, and that's why I push for that. That's why I push for a magazine cover. That's why I push for, not for the vanity of it, which is great to have a cover, but like for the idea that like there's kids out there who need to see, people like me succeeding and thriving in my body, and like statistically proven, you would not think that someone like me would be in my position. You might
Mm.
think that they might get a role now and then that they might not be, but that they would definitely not be going to the Met Gala. They definitely would not be on the cover of a magazine. They definitely would, statistically, that's what I wouldn't be described as that person who does those things and who
Right.
gets those accolades. But I am, and I'm doing them. And the more I do them, the more I want those kids to see that because it's up to them. Because now we're like getting to a point where like we need to pass the baton and we need to like hold the elevator door open.
Mm.
And that's my thing. It's just like I know that there's talent who's up and coming who need that little bit of a hold the door for a second because as soon as they get here, now we have more people representing, and they can take it to the higher level and higher level as well. So it's just passing it forward. I always say a feather in one of our hats is a feather in all our hats because it's just moving us along.
Hmm. Um, you have such fun, it seems like, with your fashion choices. Um, is where's your inspiration for your red carpet stuff? Because it's just like it's filled with so much joy, like we brought it before. But you're also incredibly I don't know, it feels courageous and exciting and new and different. And I wanted to know like what inspires your fashion choices.
Yeah, I think that for the longest time, no one would design or dress me. Like I dressed myself for, with some faux pas, obviously, early on in my career because I just do it in the moment and that's what I love. And also
It's
with
okay.
the
I made a worse dress list once.
you
You have not
understand that,
lived.
like, yeah, with the, and also with the limited budget when you don't, stylists are expensive. And for the longest time, no stylist would dress me because every time they
Right.
would even think about, they would go for like, a brown, like, shirt with a potato sack on top and for like it didn't make sense. Like I was like I want to just like if I if you're the stylist, I think it should be a little bit more detailed than to go pick up a t-shirt from Big and Tall and a pair of jeans. I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes with people of size, sometimes stylists don't know how to dress them because they're not themselves aware of
Well,
the how to adorn that body
yeah.
shape, and you have to be aware and you have to know what looks good on you. For me personally, I know what I like. I know what colors look good on me. I know what I want to, what story I want to tell. So. I styled myself for the longest time, and just recently been working with a new stylist that really listens to me. Like when I say, I want to do this, what do you think? I love that. What do you think about it? And then they bring ideas to the table as well that collaborate and we do great pieces. but I've also been lucky that I push, for what I want. For the longest time, I wanted to get Christian Siriano. I've been such a fan of his work for years, and I
Amazing.
begged him to do. And he's like, I just don't do, menswear. He didn't do menswear at the time. He had just done, I think, Billy Porter, but it was like a tuxedo dress kind of
Right.
thing. So
Yeah.
it was kind of like androgynous, but it wasn't really menswear. And I was just like, but you could have fun with menswear, it could be like fun, blah, blah. And so I came to them and I was like, I'm going to the Oscars and my film is nominated. And I really like to have that story where I went through imagine I lived in the 1920s. It's 1922, but I went through my dad's closet and I found his old Gilded Age coat. So I want to wear my dad's Gilded Age coat that flares out, but my hair has to be 1920s finger wave.
With the finger waves?
Yeah, so I was like, that was the story you wanted to give. Imagine someone in 1922 taking their dad's coat to the Oscars. That was the story that we're telling, and that's
Yeah.
what came about to that look. And people were like, "What is this cool like Gilded Age outfit?" But it's the 1920s wave. And that, because of that look, and he took a risk, and Christian, worked with me and collaborated with me. It got everywhere. It got more. I think got more hits than he dressed like 28 women at the Oscars, something like that.
Yeah.
But this was the first time he ever dressed a man, and like we went through the story. Besides Billy, who's amazing.
Mm.
And after that Oscar look and the reviews that came in and whatnot, the following season, Christian Siriano had a men's line. Like
Were
he
you at his
added.
show?
Yeah, I was front row of the show.
Yeah.
I was
Good
front
for
row of the
you.
show, and I just
I
thought
love
about
that.
like how cool this was that and he's been doing this for years. So
Mhm.
he's so talented. But like it was so funny that like it was a moment like that like solidified like yeah, why not? And now he has men's line in every season that he has, and so I pride myself that I'm a part of that in his history. That like I helped create this because he took a risk on this curvaceous young guy, and he took a risk of dressing him and telling a story. And he took a risk, and I think more artists should be like Christian and take a risk because you
Mm.
don't know what the outcome's going to be. And look at what's flourished. Like he and I become friends now. I was just having dinner, at his fashion show last week in New York, where he's so talented and know his mom and like it's just the idea that the jokingly we say that like people call up, they're like, I'm getting married. I want something like that Harvey guy wore to the Oscars. Or I'm getting married. I want my tuxedo to similar look like this that Harvey wore to this carpet event. I'm having my big 40th birthday and I want to wear something cool like that guy Harvey wore to the so
I
like
love that.
the idea that you are by just being, so me just being and
Mm.
having this vision of like I want to do this, I want to go to the Oscars and look cool, and I want to tell this story. Just by the idea that that's what I wanted to do, you
Yeah.
have sparked, an artist inspires an artist, and an artist inspires someone, and before you know it, that creativity is just trickling and cascading down to others, and you're
Yeah.
inspiring other people and artists all over, and it's just a stream of talent.
Well, so many people are scared to ask, because I don't know, we're so scared of getting shut down, I think, in our society, or it's, and a lot of times you just have to ask the question.
Yeah.
Like, just ask them. What's the worst that he could have said is not
No,
into it.
exactly. And even then, like, what's the old saying? It's like, if someone says no, you're just not asking the right person. Like, it's just
Mm.
like you go to the next person, and they might say yes, and the next person, they might say it, But if I think with Christian, like, I was so, like, I had this vision of, like, I know if he just takes a chance, and, I was persistent. I was persistent, and sometimes being persistent is good until you have the feeling that it's like, no, it's not gonna happen. But it just happened so perfectly where he said yes and it worked out and then we became friends and then this and but sometimes people are afraid to take that first step like you said to even ask, and the worst that can happen is
Yeah.
to say no. Then don't feel defeated, go to the next person, like I said, that tray of
Yeah.
chocolate cake. Don't be defeated that someone doesn't want it right away. You're
Well,
gonna
that's
find
that
someone.
tenacity that you were talking about in the very beginning, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What I know that your community, Altadena, I have so many friends in LA that have lost their homes right now. And I know that your home, you said you didn't lose your home, but it had some damage.
Yeah, the night
What's the
that
community? Well, sorry, you were going to go ahead. You said the night.
Oh, I
Sorry.
was saying the night that they evacuated half of the town, but not the other half, which I don't know where the disconnect happened there.
Mm.
But I knew there was a fire in the Palisades, and I had just started rehearsal for Anything Goes that we're doing at the Pasadena Playhouse with Jinx. First day of rehearsal, and at rehearsal, um, everyone's like, "How's everyone doing?" Because I know the fires in Palisades and whatnot, and they had just announced that there was an Altadena fire, and I was like, "Oh," I was like, "That's where I live." And I was like, and they asked me, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, so far so good." I think in my head, I was like, "It can't be that terrible. I mean, we have
Mm.
firemen, and they can probably control it." And then I went home that night, and the winds were really strong. There were 100-mile winds, and like I could hear the windows just like shatter. Like, I live
Yeah.
in an old craftsman house, and so it's like original floor, wooden. It's all wood. My whole house is wood. Like it is just
Yeah.
wood, which is probably not the safest. Um, and so the winds were really strong that night, and I just like went to my kitchen. I looked out my window, which I usually just see darkness because I have pine trees in the back, and you can't really see. And sometimes with the moonlight, you see the hill of the mountain. But I looked down and I saw a red ball like
Hmm.
glowing in the distance. And I looked at it and I was like, what is that? And I was like, that's a fire. And I can see it. And I
Yeah.
could see it from my kitchen window. That's not good. And so I remember I literally I got worried, and I just remember thinking, I need to probably leave, right? And I went to the backyard, and I'm not really a religious person, but I'm a spiritual person. I went to the backyard. I remember just like asking my ancestors, like, just please protect. I'm a first generational homeowner. This is like
Mm.
what I worked with my whole life. Like, I wanted a place that I could call home. When I was little, we moved a lot with my dad's construction company. So we lived like in a new city every year, pretty much. And it never felt stable for me to be like, so for me, I
Yeah.
wanted a home that I could like, it's a place where you can drop your hat and you can say, that's okay. I can leave this here because I'm going to live here forever. Um, and I just felt this like the winds were like so strong, like the trees, like it was like 100 mile. Like you can only imagine 100-mile winds going at your face. And I started exiting, and I saw my neighbor, and he was watering his roof, and I was like, we should probably evacuate. And he was like, I'm not going anywhere. He's 80. He's 8 years old. He's like, I'm not going anywhere. I've been here 53 years, and I'm not leaving. And I was like, wow, he's not leaving. I was like, ugh. He's like, but if I were you, Harvey, he's like, I wet, the shed out of your house. And I was like, you're right. So I turned on the sprinklers. I left them on, and I put like, we put sprinklers also in the corner of the houses to protect it
Yeah.
as well. And then I grabbed the portrait of my mom and my dad that's hand painted on top of the wall, and I walked out with that. And I said, I'll be back, and it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. And then like around 4:30 in the morning, my ring light, because I couldn't go to sleep, and I just went to my friend's house and stayed at her guest room. And I literally was looking at the ring light, and there's just balls of fire in the front yard falling from the sky. The palm trees have caught on fire. They're just falling like down. My fence is on fire. The backyard is on fire. Um, by some miracle, like the exterior of the house all caught on fire, and not the frame and not the center. Because in the camera, all the balls of fire that were falling onto the front yard would dissolve automatically with the puddles of water that had let the sprinkler on. So they were falling and dissolving automatically, falling and dissolving. There was some damage, like things got burned,
Yeah.
the roof and whatnot because of flying debris and stuff. But I am very fortunate. There was a lot of smoke damage, which I can't go back into the home for another 2 months with after all
Yeah.
the cleaning and stuff. But I'm very fortunate, very lucky, and I had this guilt afterwards because I had a survivor's guilt. Like I had
Yeah.
this survivor's guilt because of how lucky I had been. But people are like, well, you weren't that lucky because you still got damage. You got a lot of stuff to do, and your property burned. The exterior. I was like, yes, but my house is still whole. He's like, yeah, but remember, you still, it's not about who's, who got it worse, or who got a short end. It's about community, and it's how we can help each other, to rebuild. And the next day, it was locked off. The area was, you couldn't go in. We had to like sneak in to see what was happening because they wouldn't let
Yeah.
us in. And actually, after the first fire, the house in front of us had caught on fire, and they turned it down and whatnot, but there was still ambers there, so the fire department had left, and it caught fire again. And so it
Yeah.
started smoking up again, and all their hoses had melted, so they didn't have ways to get water to the fire. So my brothers who were at my place and were trying to like move debris around and like clean up. Um, they literally ran across the street, and I followed, and my sister followed, and it was me, my two brothers, and my sister, bringing hoses from our house, connected them to their property because the neighbor who lived next door, their house was still intact, but they were
Right.
worried that their house was going to catch on fire as soon as this debris caught on fire again. So we went back there and we started hosing down this fire. And eventually a fireman came by again, and they're like, "Oh, it's like keep doing what you're doing. No notes." It's like
Yeah.
no notes.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. But yeah, because I was like, we really kind of, showed up for each other in the community, and I have friends who's, live in the street behind mine, and they were also spared, but the next door neighbor was completely to the end of the street. Like when you go through the town, I mean, if you drive on Lake where, my dry cleaners, my bank, my coffee shop, my grocery store, like
Yeah.
everything that where you live in this community, there's no life there. Like the
Yeah.
buildings are gone. Like it's like a war zone. Like it's like a movie set that I never want to be in.
Yeah.
And because those images will haunt me, because it's just I can't believe this city, this beautiful city. There's this one place that we went to. It's a hardware store that we had just gotten like something like not too long before for one of the doors in the house, and it's gone. The whole place is gone, except the side of the building is brick, and it has this beautiful Altadena mural on it. And I thought that was so poetic. I was like, yes, it's touched and it's bruised and it's burned, but it's
Mm.
not fallen and it's not
Yeah.
gone. And the beautiful mural is just intact, and it's this Altadena and it has a little trolley. And I was just like, yeah, that's very significant. Like it really resonated with me. I was like, this is bad. But this community is built on beautiful people, artists, people who've wanted to build, something to pass on to their offspring, people of color who this was one of the first cities you could buy homes.
Yeah.
The reason I bought a home there was because it was historically one of the first cities that you could buy a home if you were black or brown. And it's not, I don't think that our spirit is bruised, but it is not gone. And I feel
Yeah.
like that we are rebuilding. It'll take some time, but this is a beautiful community. And Altadena is, if you've never been, you should visit. And if you haven't helped, maybe volunteer to help such a beautiful community build back up.
Where can people see the movie right now? I know that it's came out a week,
Like a week ago,
2 weeks
yeah.
ago now, a week ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where can they see Companion right now?
They can see it in theaters right now across the nation. Companion has a stellar cast, and it is quickly become one of my favorite projects to work on. So I really recommend it. And also, take a loved one,
Yeah.
and see what their take is. My curiosity is go with someone that you're in a relationship or are starting to date, and then ask them after the movie, what was your take from that?
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see what people say what their take is.
I'll ask my husband if he wants to go. I'll tell him it's a
should.
horror movie, which he will love, and then he'll be like, wait, what's happening?
Yeah. I'd be
love
curious to see what they think after.
I always end on a question that I'm not a good enough interviewer to have ever come up with. It's just a box of questions and it's random. So this is just the last question.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. Oh, this is fun. All right. What fictional villain did you find yourself rooting for?
Ooh. Penguin in Batman Returns. I mean, Cobblepot just had a horrible, you see his childhood, and it's like the parents who were clearly narcissistic but wealthy.
Yes.
And they just, you couldn't love your child. Also, with all that money, couldn't you just see if there's something you could do about the web hands? It's just
there's something you could have done. I remember that's so accurate. What a good choice. I always felt so bad for him.
I felt bad for him.
Oh, that is such a good villain backstory, because you immediately go, oh, I get it.
I get it. And also oh my God, so selfish to drop him into the sewer, and then the penguins take him in. And it's this goes to show that we don't deserve animals. Animals they literally took him in and made and raised him as one of his own. As a penguin, that's what he loves, fish, and he loves the cold.
And Danny DeVito was so...
I think Danny DeVito's best work is the penguin. And I think that for me solidified that, Danny DeVito is a great comedian, and I met him a couple of times. We work, he works on Sunny, and I work on Shadow
Yeah.
Spark, an FX show. So I met him a couple of times. He's the nicest guy. And it really solidified for me as a kid growing up that it was maybe possible to be, yes, a good comedian actor, but a great dramatic actor as well. And like I think he's such a great character actor and dramatic actor. Yeah, Danny DeVito doesn't get the credit he deserves. He just get more credit.
Yeah.
But he's great. But that was my best villain backstory that I was like, I get it. Honestly, like he had so much pain. Maybe if you put the kid into therapy, like when he was younger, he could talk his feelings out, get a little bit of surgery on the web hands. Like that's not a big deal.
No, not a big deal at all. They could have fixed that when he was younger. Kids are malleable.
Yeah, same thing with the Grinch. The Grinch being poked fun at. It's like kids are brutal. Like teach kids to be like kinder to one another. Like start there.
Yeah.
Like villains aren't born; they're made.
Oh my God, my daughter's 3. I'm terrified of her to go to school. So let's end there so we don't talk about my daughter in school because I'm like, should we homeschool?
That's another episode. That's
totally another. That's therapy. Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. It's nice to get to know you a little bit better.
No, thanks for having me. This is delightful.
Absolutely. And everyone go check out Companion. I'm super excited.
Yeah. Go check it out.
Awesome.
I'm curious to see what you think.
Yeah. I know. Me too. All right. Have an awesome day.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Hindsight. Thank you so much for sticking around. I've been waking up at 5 a.m. now, 4:45 to 5 a.m. since before Christmas. Like this was my plan. This was like my New Year's thing. Like I was going to wake up at 4:45, 5 o'clock so I would have some time by myself. And lo and behold, it changed my life. And then you know what else changed, Jeph?
What?
The little fuckers started waking up at 5 o'clock.
Don't call Robin that.
Yeah. Both of them.
Yeah.
Like, Granger is like, he's awake at 5, and I just let him stay there till 6. Like, he's not crying.
Right.
I just leave him there till 6 o'clock in the morning, and he babbles to himself, and he pretends like, he like plays with his hands and stuff. And in my mind, I'm like, you know what? This is really good study time.
Yeah.
You get better on what you do, kid, in that bed by yourself. You take some quiet time in the morning.
Right.
Because this morning in my journal, all I did was talk about how angry I was that he was awake already. I was like, what do I need to do? What do I need to fucking do? Wake up at 4?
Yeah, I mean,
to get any time to myself?
Just don't go to sleep.
Oh my God. But the problem is I get to 8 o'clock and like 7:30, we're putting her to bed and reading books.
Yeah.
And I'm falling asleep.
Yeah.
I'm literally falling asleep in her bed, reading books.
You've just put yourself
at 7:30.
You've just put yourself on baby time, basically.
I don't know. I don't know what this is. Like, I don't know if this is a culmination of a few things, like that I'm exhausted, that I'm stressed out, that I legitimately am exhausted, or that it's just that we moved to Oregon, it rains all the time, and it's dark right now.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
You know? But this is the frustration that's my life right now. Are
you working out at all?
Trying to. I'm trying to get like 2 or 3 days a week, which is, I've worked out more since New Year's than I did all last year.
Right.
So I'm doing better for sure. And I also like Granger's so big that I was thinking about this the other day.
It's a workout on its own.
I probably do.
Yeah.
He's what? I think he's lost a pound. So he's about 27 pounds right now.
Yeah.
I probably do over 100 squats a day. Holding.
Yeah.
We'll call it 30 pounds just for shits and giggles. Like that's what I do.
Yeah. You've got your own little kettlebell.
He is a little kettlebell. He's so big that every time I pick him up, I resent him just a little bit.
Oh.
But then he looks at me and he's super cute.
That is the thing about babies. I remember my nephew was running around my house when he was about 2 years old and was the most annoying little thing ever. Just getting into everything. You're just trying to like keep them out of everything. At one point, he turned all the burners on the stove, and my sister was like, "Why does it smell like gas in here?" And I looked over, and they were all on because he was just right at the right height. And I'm just like so sick of this kid. And then he just looks at me and comes over and hugs me, and I was like, "All right, I forgive you for everything."
For everything. But that's what they do. I got in an argument with a 3-year-old out of if the word on her book said tiny or teen. You want to know what it fucking said, Jeph? It said tiny. You want to know how I know that? Because I can read.
Yeah, because I'm an adult that knows how to read.
Yet a 3-year-old is bringing me to my knees telling me it says Teen Titans. I'm like, no, bitch. It says Tiny Titans. No, teen. No, Ginny, that says tiny. No, it says teen, mommy. No, it doesn't. Yes.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't, Ginny. It says tiny. No, mom. No.
Do you give up or do you?
You know what I say to her?
What?
It sounds to me like you need some quiet time.
There you go. There you go.
So mommy's going to leave.
Yeah, but what you really mean is mommy needs to get away from you.
Mommy needs, and then the other day, and she was playing, so like, I can't be mad about it, but she was playing and she fucking backhanded me.
What?
She backhanded me.
Yeah.
And I literally, I went like this, and then Robin, I looked at him and he goes, she just backhanded you. And I was like,
and she's in trouble now?
She is 3.
Yeah. I mean,
she's 3.
They're monsters. I mean, like at that age, children are like the worst version of what a human can be. Just like selfish, mean, rude,
she's
like
awful. She's
disgusting.
So awful. I know. It's so funny. There are moments though, like, not to laugh about cancer.
Okay, let's not then.
You guys, you have to. You kind of have to. You have to. You just have, like, you have to find humor in this shit. Sometimes I literally think to myself, God, I wouldn't have gotten in this fight with her if she was still sick. Because you just go,
but you don't.
I'm not gonna get in an argument with a child on chemotherapy.
Sure. So is that like a weird?
She's healthy now, Jeph. I will argue with her.
So that's like when she backhands you, do you say, "Oh, thank God she's healthy"?
You know what I do?
Yeah.
I really do.
She's strong enough now to abuse me.
I know. You just have to, you got to laugh about it. Like, what a gift we've been given.
So,
we have a 3-year-old that is a complete see you next Tuesday.
If you show up with a black eye, I'm going to be like, wow, that warms my heart.
You should. Look at her getting stronger.
Wow. Were you a big baby?
I was a very like average little size newborn. I think I was 6 pounds 5 ounces, so I was like little. But my mom's like 5'1" now. She was like 5'3". I was a fat baby. Like, if you saw pictures of me as a baby, you would be like,
I wonder if I do have.
Did that thing eat her?
I wonder if I do have pictures of you, because I don't know if
you do.
Yeah, because this is actually a funny thing, because for the people listening or watching, if you've seen the intro to this show, there's all these photos of Katee. And when Katee found those photos, the way she sent them to me, I don't know how you did it, but you did it in a way where they are now all in my photo album on my phone, like, but categorized by the years that you had them on. So
you can't find them.
I can't find any of them. They're all just spread out in my thing. But I use, do you know the app Time Hop? No. It's an app that like will show you like photos of things that happened on this day. And now your childhood photos are popping up in my Time Hop. And it's confusing to me because sometimes it'll be childhood photos. Other times it'll just be like set photos of you. And I'm like, why 7 years ago, was I on the set of The Mandalorian? I don't. And then it takes me a second to realize, this is just another one of Katee's photos that is now part of it's going to be part of my life forever now. Just it's like childhood photos of you. I'm like, does this? Oh, that's why do I have Katee?
Baby?
Why do I have Katie's high school yearbook photo in my?
Oh my God, that's so funny.
It makes me think for like a second. 10 years ago, I was really obsessed with you or something.
It was you.
Yeah, it was me. It was me.
That's so fucking funny.
Yeah.
I leaned out real quick though.
Yeah.
Once I started moving around, I was quite lean. And then I was very, very, very lean until I started putting muscle on really fast as like a little athlete. And I was always one of those kids that like if you would go to the fair and like you could win if they couldn't guess your weight, they always guessed me about 15 pounds lighter than I was. And still till this day, people think I'm lighter than I am because muscle weighs more than fat and I had a lot of muscle.
Yeah. Your claim to fame is you were confusing to carnival people.
It actually was. We knew, my brother and I knew that we could win shit at the carnival if like we were like, guess my weight.
Is your brother the same way? Deceivingly different? Yeah.
No, it was just me because I was so little. I was so little. Yeah. And I'm still little. And people are like, why are you so little?
So it turns out that you've been famous for a long time.
Long time, Jeph. Long time. There are carny stories about me. Could you imagine?
You're like walking into the carnival and they're like shutting their gates. They're like, nope, we're good. Gone through.
We lost all our pink bunnies to that one last year.
Exactly. I'm not running out of giant bears again.
Oh my God.
Oh man.
Well, we should talk about Harvey.
Yeah. So you're a big fan.
I am a big fan.
Yeah.
I am. His character Guillermo on What We Do in the Shadows is so wonderful. It's
great.
So wonderful. Have you watched What We Do in the Shadows?
I watched the first season and I feel like I'm justified in not watching the rest of it because in this episode, Harvey mentions that he had the movie in his queue when he got the invitation to audition for this and he had decided not to watch it in that way that many of us do when there's something that even if we know we're going to like it and we want to watch it, but then you see it in your queue and you're like, not tonight, you know?
Harvey was also in the movie Wish.
Right.
Which I'm sure you haven't seen Wish.
No.
It was one of Disney's lesser successful movies of the recent years. Chris Pine was the lead, one of the leads in it. And the music is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Like it's probably one of my favorite Disney soundtracks, actually. The movie,
Well, was Harvey good in it though?
Of course.
Yeah.
Because he's great in everything.
I mean, all the actors are good in it. It's just the whole piece coming together.
Yeah. He's so interesting to me. I actually could have talked to him about sort of his positivity much longer.
Yeah.
I really love sort of talking to people about how they overcome their performance anxiety and sort of, the stress about that in this industry that I'm in, because I find it so relatable for me.
Yeah.
In that, I loved his cake analogy. I told Robin about it. Like,
yeah.
It makes it's so true. Like,
yeah.
And I'm going to put this back on, in relation to my career and just because this is how it made me feel. Like, as an actor, you sort of, your idea is like to prove you can act. And like to prove you can act, like I feel like I need to like play a character that is so unlike myself that people go, oh, fuck, she can act. And so as I've gotten more successful in my career, I find myself trying to find characters that are further away from myself to play. But what I end up doing is missing the opportunities of the characters that everybody wants me to play because I'm trying to find something different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm trying to convince, all of the people over here that chocolate cake is really great. and they don't fucking want chocolate cake. They're allergic to chocolate. And they're like, girl, like table 25 has been asking for chocolate cake for, the last hour.
Right.
So I feel very much that sort of like I think what I learned from that, or what we can all learn from that, is that just be yourself.
Yeah.
Just be yourself. And if people like you, if you're successful in what you do, just keep doing what you're doing. Like,
Well, they're trying to cast you, not somebody else. So.
Yeah, who knows, right?
Still
haven't booked anything off tape.
Can you explain to our listeners so he mentioned the idea of a wild card in an audition. Can you explain what he means by that?
Well, I think it's a wild card in the sense that, so a lot of times, and I think the specificity of this is probably not needed, but for this situation, I'm gonna get really specific. Like, so if a producer or a studio says, we want, X, like Katee Sackhoff.
Yeah.
And so they go out and they find, but the casting director really wants them to pick, Grace Park.
Right.
They're going to go out and they're going to find like 5 Katee Sackhoffs.
Right.
That are all identical and not really interesting.
Right.
But they're going to find one real good Grace Park.
Right.
Because then they'll put them all forward and you have a wild card in the bunch that all of a sudden it's like, the producers are watching that and they're like, well, these 5 are not that interesting. They're all sort of the same and doing the same thing. And whoa, what's that?
Right.
So that's like a very specific, but it could also just be the producers have asked for something very specific. And so the casting director's gone out and found 5 phenomenal actresses that are exactly what they asked for. Here they are.
Yeah.
Or actors, Harvey is concerned. They've asked for a very stereotypical, like, I don't know, maybe it's like they're looking for a guy that looks like a librarian.
Right.
He looks like a librarian, like, he's like button-up sweater, he's Caucasian, he's mid-30s, or maybe he's 55. Let's call him 55. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for like almost Mr. Rogers, right?
Yeah.
So the casting director goes out and they do exactly that. They find the best people in that meet that criteria. But the casting director goes, I see this differently. But I know my job is to give them what they asked for, but it's also to like stretch their imagination.
Yeah.
I really want to throw Harvey in the mix.
Yeah.
Just make him go, maybe. It's a different way to look at it. And they put his tape in with it. He's the wild card. He's the one where they go, well, damn, I didn't see that coming, or I didn't expect that. And they may go, still not right.
Right.
But a lot of times they go, wow, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
You're right. I think he's great.
Yeah. And that's what happened on this one.
Yeah.
Changed his life.
I think it's, like he said, it's happened to him a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. Anything else on Harvey you want to chat about?
I mean, there's so much. But, I feel like we've talked so much about ourselves, Jeph. We've run out of time.
Well, I feel like Harvey did such a great job of representing himself in this interview that there's not really much to talk about. He just seems like a very sweet guy that has his head on right. I guess you guys did talk a little bit about red carpet stuff, and I was wondering, you mentioned that you were named worst dressed once. Do you remember what that was for?
I do. It was for the premiere or some showing of Battlestar Galactica of the miniseries before it had started airing.
Yeah.
In Los Angeles. And I got on the worst dress list and I thought I looked really cute. I was so proud of the little outfit I put together. I was like a little Madonna.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, it was fucking awful. But I was also like a 21-year-old kid.
Yeah, and it was 2003, right?
Who was like having fun with fashion, and like, Gwen Stefani was like an icon, and like Pink and Madonna still, and like grunge was a thing still. And like, it was 2002 or 2003. So like,
it's probably popular
I was heavily
now.
influenced by all of that stuff. And, it didn't work.
Well, I'm glad it never happened to you again.
Do we have a mail sack?
We
Should
do.
we get into the mail sack?
We have a mail sack.
Let's do it.
Mail sack. We're going to the mail sack. Mail sack. Why are we calling it mail sack?
Hey, you guys, the mail sack. Send us your emails and your comments at thesackoffshow@gmail.com. And you might be so lucky. I'm just kidding.
It would be I'm sure people would feel very lucky.
Honor.
Yeah. People would feel very lucky. We get a lot of nice emails and
we do. And I wish that we could go through all of them. Who knows? Maybe we'll have to do a Patreon or something where we can actually start answering all these questions.
Spoiler.
Cancel bubble. Hey, Katee, I doubt you track or even aware of this, but I wanted to let you know that you currently have 2 movies on the free version of YouTube Movies channel. Those are 2036, Origin Unknown, and Don't Knock Twice. The movie posters they use in the thumbnails for both Origin and Don't Knock Twice are very prominently feature you very prominently. You have recently mentioned your movie Christmas Sale as well, so I looked that up, and you're also on the poster along with your castmates walking onto a sailboat. From your experience, how does the poster art for movies usually work? Do they generally have dedicated photo shoots based on different concepts that have been worked out in advance? Or do the art departments generally grab imagery from the actual movie and from that build up concepts and final designs? Love the podcast and thanks for letting us know what's up. Awesome. I didn't know that YouTube had a whole thing.
Yeah.
Like free movies, but those are both movies that I did in the UK. So I wonder if that has something to do about it.
Might.
About that is that there's like a international component to those movies.
So I got the poster if you want.
Yeah, Origin Unknown, cool poster.
There's also a couple versions of it. But I believe this is the one that's on YouTube.
It is. Origin Unknown, it's a fun movie. We shot that in 11 days. Like I said, I think I own that poster actually too. I wish I did. And then Don't Knock Twice didn't feature me. That's the poster right there.
Yeah.
The one without my face on it.
Yeah.
Was the poster I saw. That was the poster that I saw. That one is interesting because it makes me look like a bad guy.
Do you have any sense of how these posters were made? Like, did you do a separate photo shoot or were these just pulled from the movie?
So it depends. So like for Christmas Sale, we absolutely did a photo shoot because there's not a lot of still art that would work for the poster of this Christmas movie. So we did a photo shoot for that for sure. Hallmark's very specific about the way that they promote their movies, and it works for them, and it's so much fun to do those photo shoots. So I love it. I don't remember if we did something on Don't Knock Twice. Sometimes what they'll do is they'll have an on-set photographer for a few days to take stills and things. And on those days, they'll pull you aside for what they'll call like a mini gallery. And a gallery is a photo shoot, basically. A full gallery is usually a dedicated day, where like for Longmire, you do things like this where you go in on a dedicated day and you do like a massive photo shoot with the whole cast and yourself. Then they do like mini shoots, which are basically they happen during the workday and they pull you when you've got free time, and the photographer is set up in a different space and they'll do some photos and stuff like that. So for Hallmark, it was a mini shoot, but it was during the day while we were working, and got some stuff that way. And then I don't think for Don't Knock Twice that they did an actual mini shoot or a gallery, and either for Origin Unknown either. I don't think they actually did one for Mandalorian either. I think they had, no, wait, they did. Never mind. I take that back. They did.
So Christmas Sale, the one of you guys walking across the boat, were you all in the same photo or was it taken separately and they?
It was all taken separately and we were all holding onto like a rope.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is it
Yeah.
like against
And then they put it all together.
Do they put it against like a green screen or a cyc or something?
I think it was like just a white background for that.
A white cyc or something.
I think so.
So your question to him was, what fictional villain did you find yourself rooting for? His answer on the Penguin was incredible. I agree completely.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect answer, right?
Do you have an answer for that one?
What fictional villain
did you find yourself rooting for?
I mean, I kind of always root for the villains. I don't know. I don't remember movies very well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
there's been a couple of
time.
more recent examples. Like the biggest one I can think of is Thanos in the Endgame series, where he's
you
trying
just wanted to wipe them all out.
I mean, there's a part of me that was like, I mean, I guess.
Right? Oh, you know who I sort of rooted for, but like, wasn't Michael B. Jordan a bad guy in Black Panther?
Yeah, that's a good one.
You know?
The Marvel does pretty good with that, because there was also the Thor movie, the most recent Thor with Christian Bale's character. He played this guy from like a planet, and these gods, cosmic gods, killed his family, and then he wanted to kill the gods. And I was like, I see it.
Like, I get it.
Yeah, I get it.
You know, I think Marvel does that really well. I think the villain backstory, and I've learned all of this from my daughter, by the way, is she all the time she has this thing, and I told her at one point, she's like, because she reads these superhero high books that are all about the Marvel baddies, and like I'm trying to think of who they are. Poison Ivy is not bad yet. Catwoman is not bad yet, because they all go to high school together. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so she's like, but she's not bad yet. And I'm like, well, she's misunderstood when she gets older. So we call them misunderstood. So because I was trying to figure out how to explain that. I was like, well, not all bad people are good, and not all good people aren't bad. Right. You know what I mean? Like, so she's like, okay, I get it. So now she just tells me that they're misunderstood, or what she says is, she's like, Mommy, we have to come up with a backstory. Your mom died.
Oh, God. This is what superhero origin stories are putting into our children. Like, you need a very tragic beginning.
And that's the thing. But Marvel does it really good. Yeah. Where they're like, I fucking get it. Yeah. I get it. I'd be bad too.
Yeah. I mean, I think back to the DC, the one that I also think of that I just thought of is
DC. Sorry. DC would be, yeah.
Mr. Freeze. I don't know. It's one
of my daughter's favorites.
Did you ever watch the old Batman animated show?
No.
It's incredible. And the Mr. Freeze episode is really good. And the Clayface one,
I just watched Spy Kids.
I've never seen that.
Yeah, Ginny liked it. She's 3. Don't know if we should have showed her that. But Alan Cumming is glorious in it. He plays this terrible character. But he is also just really misunderstood. And you kind of root for him, sort of.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah. So let us know what villain you rooted for, guys. I think that's a really good question. You guys, this is it. We're done. We'll see you next Tuesday. And that's what's up.